My name is Ben Colbeck. I'm a studio instructor at Center Chico. I teach guitar, bass, and ukulele. I started playing music around 8 or 9 years old. I started taking classical guitar lessons, and I didn't really become passionate about it or start really putting work into it until about 13 or 14, when I got into my dad's music collection and started developing my own taste in music. I was listening to a lot of Beatles, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, sort of cutting my teeth on the blues a lot, and trying to learn a lot of it by ear. Even though I could sight read a bit at that age, I was trying to learn a lot of it by ear, which is how the greats, or my greats I should say, learnt their skills. The problem, I think, with modern learning with music is they're taking the ear out of the equation. You know, you read the tab and you play the tab, but are you truly listening to what you're doing? Are you analyzing what you're doing? I like to try and treat music more like a language. You know, we learn languages not through lessons generally, but through studying with the masters. You know, studying with your parents who are much better at the language than you, or your friends, and slowly picking it up. That's how music should be, I think. We forget to listen sometimes, and that's all music is, you know, moving air. But sometimes people get too caught up in reading it off the sheet. I like to try and focus on analyzing, using your ear, a bit of ear training. I had a teacher in Spain who was a great flamenco guitarist, but very, very strict. Never wrote anything down. It was all by memory. Never used a tuner. I tuned to him by ear. For the first few months with him, I was always out of tune. And he was never really engaged with me too much. He'd play a lick and he'd say, "Okay, now you." And I'd try it. He'd say, "No, like this." "Okay, now you." It would go back and forth like that. And although he was very strict and a little too abrasive at times, didn't really show me the path in an encouraging way, I've taken loads of skills from him. And I think that's helped me a lot in developing my ear and visually and orally playing. I started giving lessons when I was 18, when I moved back to England to study at university. I was helping some of my fellow students there with their courses, particularly in ear training and sight reading, little things like that. And I was teaching kids at that time too, teaching privately from my apartment. And then I got affiliated with a college called Access to Music, and there I would teach through them as well, run Saturday youth academies and shows and things like that. I'm British on paper. My parents are both English, but I grew up in Spain.
So, when you say like Hendrix and all that, so you were observing this from, you weren't in America, but listening to American music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it permeates the whole world in a way. There's a lot of kids in Spain who are really into the American and English music scenes. And I did get a huge flamenco influence from where I'm from, the south coast of Spain, where the flamenco guitar originates. And that definitely, you can definitely hear that in my style most of the time, I think. But I'm as much that as I am an American blues and rock guitarist, in a way, just with a different accent.
You've been here for how long?
I've been here for 2 years now.
And why Chico? Why here?
I followed a girl here. My wife of 2 years and a girlfriend of 10 was in Spain with me. She's an American, but she grew up in Spain as well. We met there, and she moved back here for university, and then I followed.
What is the expectation you have of your students?
It depends on the students. You know, I pride myself on being able to customize the lesson to the student. You know, you can't have one set curriculum or one set path with everyone, especially not when you're teaching, you know, age ranges of 7 through 65. You've got to adapt yourself to the different students. Some people just want to play their favorite songs, and that's okay. You don't have to know everything about what you're playing to have some fun on guitar or whatever your instrument may be. But sometimes you can get shown a path that'll make things a lot easier for you. For example, you can learn and memorize, you know, 20-odd chords. Your basic chords, a few more fancy ones. But if you learn how to construct those chords through theory, there's no need to memorize anything. You can figure them out. So, although some areas of music can be daunting to bedroom guitarists, it's actually an easier path once you break through the initial sort of scariness of that.
What's the greatest joy you have of teaching?
Seeing my students thrive, probably. That's the greatest thing. Students don't see it in themselves so much. You know, you don't see your own improvement as well as other people do, because you're with you all the time. You're always with you through every little step of the way. Whereas when I see my students, it's once a week generally, or twice if they come to my open hour. So I get to see these little increments every single time. If they're putting the work in, they get better every week. Sometimes they don't notice it, but I notice it every single week. And if you take someone who started with me on the grand opening weekend at Guitar Center in Chico, and many of them are still with me now, 7 months later, they are guitarists. They're musicians now. They're thinking like musicians and they're playing like musicians. When they came to me, they knew nothing, and it's night and day compared to the start. I love that. I love that contrast between what you can do if you really put the work in.
So you're also the lead instructor for rock shows. Tell me about that.
I am. Rock Show is a program that we offered here at Guitar Center Chico. It's a program where we get kids of the same sort of age and skill set and put them together into bands and give them their first experience of working in a band, of putting songs together, of performing in front of people. And so they rehearse together for 2 hours a day throughout a week, and then they perform in the store on Saturday in front of their parents and friends and the general public. It's a great learning curve for kids of that age. I wish I had something, that kind of outlet at that age too.
Are you a flamenco player?
I mean, I guess I am by standards out here. You know, if I went back to Spain and tried to jam with the old men out there in the cafes, then I'd be shown up for sure. You know, I'm by no means on their level, but I do have a classical and flamenco background, and I take that into more contemporary music, into my rock styles.
Would that be a specialty of yours, or?
It would, definitely. If you came to Guitar Center looking for flamenco lessons or learning how to sight read, anything in that sort of nylon string area, I'd definitely be your teacher. I've been there and I've been through that process.
Excellent. I want to hear you play.
Okay.